Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Inside Fnatic's Brush, a special edition this time as it was the roadshow for Madrid, and what a show this was. First thing first, MKOI, the local favourites, and our eternal rivals G2. Let's jump right into it. Starting with the big one against MKOI, the crowd was definitely behind him. Looking at game 1, we actually see a little bit of a change up with Oscarnin bringing out the Warwick that we haven't seen from him, I believe, for quite some time now, so that was very interesting to see. For the rest of the team, a bit of a skirmish comp to really go in and do a lot of team fights, the way MKOI like to do it. And as expected, we're getting a lot of early back and forth with triggers going on the side of Fnatic, quite quickly back to MKOI, and both teams catching other opponents out of position. However, the 6 Voids and the Herald give Fnatic a good advantage on the side lanes by getting the first 2 turrets and only leaving the mid turret open for taking. The breaking point of this game will actually be the big team fight around the top river, where both Upset and Humanoid manage the engage against MKOI pretty well, a bit of a back and forth in the early stages of the team fight, but Supa will betray his team and sending back 2 of them with the blast cone. Easy pickings for Upset and Humanoid, who take the advantage for Fnatic. Winning this team fight will actually allow Fnatic to take over the Anakan and get more pressure onto the map. The game will quickly accelerate as the entire team of Fnatic jumps onto an isolated Jojo in the mid lane, get the Baron, do a final push on the top side and close the game. Game 1 for Fnatic. For game 2, Oscarnin decides to mix it up again with an unexpected Wukong pick into the Ambessa, and Razor goes again for a very aggressive jungler with Xinzao, when I believe maybe a MKOI pick for a bit more frontline could have been better suited. Unfortunately for Oscarnin, the Wukong pick really won't work against Ambessa. He's getting completely bullied in CS and pushed under his turrets, getting poked constantly by Merwin. They'll even lose an early 2v2, which will push that top jungle duo even further ahead. The kills will eventually get replied in the bot lane, and this game, a little bit like game 1, will be a complete brawl with close to a kill per minute into the early game. Despite all of that, the advantage is going to be well in favor of MKOI, who's just getting advantage through CS and lane pressure. Fnatic's mid and top are having a disaster game and just can't get anything happen, especially for Humanoid, who's playing in the Azir and needs to get his items before becoming relevant onto the map. Merwin can't be contested on the side lane, MKOI is 5 turrets to none ahead, and Fnatic keeps blundering their engage and their TPs, completely non-associated with the rest of the team. Fnatic's base is completely open with MKOI grabbing all the inhibitors, catching the Baron, and just doing one final push, snowballing the advantage that they had since the mid game and closing game 2 in their favor. 1-1. Going into game 3, everything is to play for. The crowd is going completely insane of this banger series, is going to give us one ultimate game to decide who of MKOI or Fnatic are the winners. Fnatic draft a poke comp, but insert Vi in here, which kinda feels a little bit disjointed with the rest of the comp. Again, I think a MKOI pick would have been really nice. MKOI with his samplings does do a good job of also bringing in some poke, especially with the Leandries as a first item. And this time it's a much better start from the top jungle duo from Fnatic, who redeemed themselves from the previous game. It starts with a great early solo bolo from Oscarnin against Merwin, then Razor coming in his Vi and countering the engage from Jojo Pune on his Sylas and bringing 2 more kills on the side of Fnatic, a 3-0 giving them the feats of strength on that side. Despite this very good start, MKOI keep it rather even, and no one on the side of Fnatic is actually answering Gwen's split push. On top of that, the Skarner and the Nico are causing tons of problems for Fnatic. Alvaro engages into 3 or 4 people at the same time, and Elyoya still has his free maximum capture to get anyone who's left on the side of Fnatic. Fnatic will actually manage to still capture the Baron after capturing Jojo, who again is isolated in the mid lane, but will lose 2 in escaping the Baron pit. The other big problem for Fnatic is Humanoid getting caught at the start of every team fight. He's a major part of the team in terms of damage, but unfortunately gets removed really quickly. It's therefore Upset's job to cover for him and do as much as possible to make sure that Fnatic doesn't completely lose the team fights. Thankfully, the inhibitor in the mid lane destroyed previously will give Fnatic the pressure on the map to get Baron, and then the catch onto Elyoya will actually help them secure Infernal Soul, a big soul to have, especially with the poke comp. But Mad Lions Koi did not come to Madrid to lose, and they managed to delay the game further by stealing the Elder Drake right in front of Razork. Complete disaster situation. And from this point forwards, it's complete madness on the Rift. Fnatic actually take a tempo to push the wave in the mid lane into the Mad Lions Koi base. Ensues a teamfight where again Humanoid gets caught first thing. Mad Lions Koi rush for the Baron while Upset and MKX try to prevent them from securing the objective and preventing the recalls as Oscarinen rushes in the mid lane and goes for a backdoor. Oscar gets both turrets, manages to get damage onto the inhib. Upset tries to delay as much as possible, but unfortunately dies before he can take down Supa. Humanoid TP's in, he's gonna kill the inhib, he's gonna do it. 1 HP left. Mad Lions Koi from this just simply TP into Fnatic's base, close the game in what was an absolutely insane series. Mad Lions Koi close 2-1. Well, this game definitely gave us our load of emotions, and it's a shame it didn't go Fnatic's way, unfortunately. Upset even mentioned in an interview that they blamed a little bit Humanoid for not taking the Lich Bane, which would have done insane amounts of damage onto the Nexus and probably closed the game, to be honest. But what is done, and we should be happy that this was just a regular series game. Still, with the early advantage that Fnatic got, they should have played this much better and had the game under control. Not answering the Gwen on the sides and just being very careless in team fights has made it that Mad Lions Koi just played their comp to perfection and allowed to stay very close to Fnatic and even take over, even securing their base from a one-hit disaster. With this incredible series behind us, it was time to look into the next game, the big rivalry, Fnatic versus G2. This time, Fnatic does a very weird draft. They draft K'Sante, who has not been good in quite some time. Poke comp with, again, Vi sort of inserted into the mix. Not really sure what's happening here. And yeah, we see that very quickly onto the game as every move from Fnatic is just completely awful. Every time they try to go for a kill or a dive, it gets answered immediately by G2, who gets a return kill. On top of that, they put so much resource on the bot side that they completely open the top and mid, with their jungle being not warded and giving a lot of space for G2. They will actually use this advantage to catch Fnatic as they come back into their top jungle and completely annihilate them. From this point onward, unfortunately, the game is pretty much over for Fnatic, who completely lose their minds and keep going for crazy, unnecessary plays that G2 is very happy to receive as they keep on getting the kills instead of Fnatic. No sign of Fnatic being able to come back into the game as G2 keep on pressing their advantage and close the game in a very one-sided game, 1-0 for G2. Game 2 is a very scary for Fnatic, not in the sense that it's scary for G2, but it's scary for the players of Fnatic. 5 squishy members, no actual front line, just a lot of damage everywhere. And it's another disaster start as Hansama completely outplays Oscars and MKOI to get the 2 first kills of the game. However, Fnatic finally decides to fight back, first of all with a good solo bolo from Oscarinen onto Broken Blade, and very quickly 2 kills on the bot lane at the same time. The aggression of the comp is already engaged. Fnatic actually continue to answer the aggression from G2 and get a couple of kills again on the top side for Oscarinen, who's getting further and further ahead on his Gwen. With the top and mid ahead, they push in the waves, giving them all the space to get Arakan and even inviting G2 into the choke point to see if they want to contest for the objective. While G2 picks to leave the area, Fnatic decides otherwise by running after them, Oscarning trying to catch caps around the mid lane while the rest of Fnatic collapses on the rest of G2. A massive teamfight ensues with a huge ultimate from MKOI, allowing Fnatic to clean up the fight and push them further ahead into the game. Fnatic keeps stat checking G2 at every turn, with Upset hitting like an absolute truck with his free items on Jhin. This will allow Fnatic to end the game in 27 minutes in what was a much more convincing Game 2. Game 3 is an amazing draft from Fnatic, who get their Sion, Pantheon and Aurelion Sol, and even the Nautilus in the hand of MKOI, who we know can be amazing on this champion. And from the start, he provides us with a masterclass by flash predicting hands and giving the first blood to Upset. Fnatic continue to have an insane early game, especially with Razork on his Pantheon, who can be pretty much anywhere on the map with his ultimate, and he's providing more assistance on his bot and top side. On top of that, Oscar plays his lane rather well, being not too far behind of Broken Blade and just being a Sion who's stacking HP over and over again until he becomes uncontested. Another one who is silently stacking on the side is Humanoid on his Celestial Dragon with 223 stacks before the 20-minute mark. G2 knows that he's the big threat on the side of Fnatic and try to focus him, with Caps trying to belly bop him, but a beautiful sidestep from Humanoid gives him all the space to counterattack, with Fnatic collapsing on the rest of G2 who's trying to escape in the choke point of the top side. Humanoid even allows himself to be more aggressive by flying over the mountains, dying but allowing his team to grab further kills and securing Yadakan right after. At this point, G2 is in a terrible situation. They are fighting against an Arakan buffed Fnatic who's just about to secure the Chemtech Soul, which would be insane to fight against a Sion who's just a big beefy HP bag. G2 has to force a desperate teamfight as they do not want Fnatic to secure a Chemtech Soul, especially against a Sion who would become even more unbearable to manage. Unfortunately for them, the stacking champions in Aurelion Sol and Sion are just too much to handle. G2 gets wiped and Fnatic secure the Soul. With all these advantages on the side of Fnatic, it was all about ending the game. And this was provided by MKOI, giving us a final demonstration of his Nautilus, catching Hans Sama in the pile of G2 and allowing Fnatic to just send all their spells onto G2, destroy them and close the game. Fnatic 2-1 against G2, GG's. Well, this was another crazy and insane series for this Madrid roadshow. A big congratulations for the Fnatic boys for bouncing back and having that mental resilience, especially after this disgusting game 1 that had nothing to do in the series. One thing I'm slightly disappointed about is the fact that Fnatic felt like they went back into their stat checking style instead of the beautiful macro that they showed us against Rogue. Now, there is a possibility that the adrenaline and the audience made it that the aggressive style from Fnatic and especially from Razork and MKOI made it that they went back into their bad habits and just wanted to give us a show. Most importantly, Fnatic got the win against their rivals, and that's what counts, especially with the G2, who's not looking too great right now. But in any case, that was an amazing show provided by MKOI and the participating teams, and is a big reason of why LEC should be brought in those countries where the fans are 100% hype, and in those bigger venues where we can definitely see a lot of things happening in game. And as a matter of fact, we will actually have the finals of summer happening in Madrid. And so if any of you are going over there, I'll probably see you in between games. Looking forward onto this weekend's game, Fnatic will be facing BDS with a little bit of an issue that the power went out in Madrid and that forced the Fnatic boys to stay a few days extra than what was expected. This makes it that according to Grabs, they might have at maximum 2 days to prep, which isn't gonna be great going into BDS. However, BDS hasn't been that great recently, especially in their game against Vitality that they completely choked and lost against the French organization. So I'm not expecting something too scary against BDS, but still the lack of preparation can definitely affect the performance. So expectations aren't too high, and a win would be obviously very nice going into the later stages of the regular season. In any case, that's going to be all for me. Thanks again for watching this extra long Madrid Roadshow edition. Hope you had some fun. If you went to Madrid, I hope you took some pictures with the players. And I'll see you next time, maybe again in Madrid, but at least for the next episode of Inside Fnatic's Brush. Thanks again, and see you next time. Bye bye.